Right, what have I got today? Boosh, right, it's another headlamp. Now, as you know, I'm a big sort of headlamp user. I do wild camping, I'm outdoors in the night, I do night photography, all sort of different things like that. So I do have a use for this. I'm out stargazing and things like that. And I live near places where I can do night hikes, which I really enjoy, but you need a decent headlamp in order to do that. And there are certain things that I look for in a headlamp, and I'll be going over them when I go over the statistics of this item. But I'll go over all of them, don't worry, I'm not going to read every single line of the manual. I'll try and keep it concise, although this channel is known for long reviews, so I have warned you there. And I'd also like to say, CYANSKY sent me this one. They'd also sent me a flashlight keychain lookout, which was pretty good, much better than I was expecting, because I hadn't heard of them. This is the headlamp, which they also sent me. They said, have a look at this. You know, do a proper review. We don't edit it. We don't tell you what to say. We don't tell you it's got to be positive. None of that rubbish. You have it. You tell us exactly what you think. We don't get to see the review. No editing. None of that. So CYANSKY will see this review when everyone else does when it comes out, and it will be honest. There always are my reviews, and that's how the channel will continue to go. Okay. So it's the HS6R. Now, before I start the review, I was talking to someone on the Discord channel. You know, I talked to so many different people, I forget everyone's names, and he was looking at a Fenix, which had a similar setup where it had two emitters. This does have two emitters, but it also has two side ones as well. I'll go over what all of those are. I mean, you know, it's got a main beam, which is this one. You get your spot, which is trying to get a bit of distance. You've got your auxiliary beam, which is a wider one. That's the auxiliary one there. And then these two provide red light, which is pretty bright on this one. And it's got a max output, total output. That means both of those have to be on at the same time. So max total output of 1400 lumens. That's the claim by the company. I can't check that, but it was certainly definitely slightly over the 1000 range. I don't know about 1400. Type C, and I'll go over, you know, what the benefits of that are and if it's power delivery and things like that. And it is helmet compatible. But in order to do that, you need to get the mount in the box. As standard, you get like a Velcro thing, which you can use, but to actually get a mount, it doesn't look like a military one to me, but it's a mount which you can use this with. So you can get that as an optional extra. There's some extra bits and pieces. I don't expect anyone to memorize that in the seconds that I'm going to show this, but there are some of the specs. But again, I'll go over them. And that's what you get in there. Type C charging, you get your sticker, your warranty card and all that, blah, blah, blah. Lovely. Right, let's get on with this. So, let's get it out. So it's using a double emitter, main beams, and then you have your reds as well. So let's just get rid of that. Warranty card, get rid of that. So I'll not do the unboxing too long. That came with a light. So obviously, I'll put this back in the box. This is exactly how you would get it. Although obviously I have been using this for over 2 weeks now. So you get a spare O-ring. Now, interesting, you only get one, but okay, fair enough. I would like to have seen a couple. Sometimes they get split between the threaded sections. At least they've given you one, you know. Although on these sorts of lights, it's less likely to happen because when the light is a USB rechargeable, in other words, you can stick a USB lead in here, it means less of the time you're going to be unscrewing this and taking the battery out, putting it back in, taking it out, charging, putting it back in. That's less likely to be an occurrence. There's the Velcro tab I was on about. So it's got a sticky there. Oh my God, and it's actually 3M, which is really good. They do some excellent adhesives, nice to see, not some knockoff one. And that's quite soft, that actually. And then, does that stick? Let's have a good look here. I think I've peeled that the wrong way there. That's it. And you peel it that way. I'm not going to bore you by peeling the sticker, but it's included anyway. I took that out. That was the isolation thing which went over the cell, so in transit it doesn't go on. And they come with a type A. There's your type A to type C. So it's type C charging. I'm not going to go through the manual here. I'll quickly show you. It's in 4K, so you can pause this if you really want to have a look. There's that bit. And then product features. And there you go. There's some extra operational instructions and the discharge curve if you really care about that sort of thing, because there will be a curve in the drop-offs. Okay, so get rid of that. And I'll use this to, in fact, I'll use their own lead. Obviously, I was using mine for charging. I've got a couple of other Anker power cores that I use, and I've got a type C to type C. But before we do that, we'll get rid of all that. Here's the light itself. So let's have a quick look at this. So it's all metal. This is the tube where this cell goes in. I'll show you that. It's an 18650, which comes with it. So take that out. So this is the one that comes with it. So it's their wrap, CYANSKY, over the top there, and they call this the BL1826, but it is an 18650 there. So it's a rechargeable 18650, and it's the lithium ion chemistry. There you go, and that's the output figures there. Fair enough, no problems. It's only a 2600 milliamp. I would have liked to have seen 3000, or because it's not a super high drain, this one really, I would have liked to have seen maybe it's a 3400-ish cell in there, so you get a longer run time. And this one that they give you happens to be a button top there, but I was able to get another cell to work, no problem. So nice, no problems with that. And there's the section at the end there. Decent spring, not too, sometimes you get these springs and they'll blow away with the wind. This one's quite a solid one, nice to see. So we'll get that put back in. And it does have battery capacity indicator. It's not a UI function, it's actually a visual function. You don't have to click out the voltage or anything like that. So it should light up when I do this. There you go, green. So in regards to that quickly turns out, but what that does is when you're running it, when you click that momentarily, it's telling you exactly what the battery is. So if that's solid green like that, it means your battery is between 180% in capacity. If it's green flashing on and off, it means that your battery is between 80% and 50%. And then if it goes red solid, so that bit goes red solid there, it means your battery is between 50 and 20%. And then when it flashes red, you must charge. You really must charge, because it's getting down less than 20% capacity. So if you let it go further than that, you're going to start damaging the cell in regards to its longevity. But really, I quite like this. It's full metal, but it's not that heavy. It's not that heavy. It is weighty. It's 160 grams. That includes the cell and the unit. So everything in as you would wear it on your head. 160 grams, so it's got a bit of heft to it, but it wasn't bad. What I was worried about when I first got this, I thought, no, hang on, this is a 2-pointer. In order for this to not droop, in other words, when you put something on, if it's not tight enough, watch, imagine this is the head on this side. If you don't tighten it enough, do you get what's called droop, and then it droops away from the body. But you don't want it too tight where you end up with a headache, like a pressure headache. So in order to mitigate that, a lot of manufacturers, I mean, here's just an example from Nike, use a 3-pointer. So here's a 3-pointer. So this goes around the circumference of the skull, and then this goes over the top. So it doesn't allow this to droop and move down, and it means you don't have to have this quite as tight. Well, you obviously need a snug fit. It was okay. I found that I really had to tighten it if I ran with this. But I probably wouldn't take a heavy one like this to run. If I was running, I'd take something a lot smaller, something like this, the HL3A lumen top, something a little bit more compact that I know would last the entirety of the run that I plan to do. So for running, probably not, but walking around, no problems. It didn't jump, it didn't droop or anything, and this was quite comfortable. I was worried that this against the skin wouldn't be comfortable, but if you look at it, what they've done is, see how it's bent over slightly? It's hard to see. See how it's smooth and bent over? So rather than having a sharp piece of metal, look, there's nothing on there. That's dead smooth. It's almost like the back of a spoon touching your skin. So nothing on this irritated my skin when I used it. I had no problems. I was worried because sometimes these metal ones, I love metal because it's resilient, but they can irritate you, and this didn't. So, well done, CYANSKY. You've done a good job there in that regards. I can't knock them on that. And you have this cage system, so that's how you get your tilt. So this is where your head would be, and then it tilts. So you can have it all the way up there, or all the way down towards your feet. And this is the top where you have your auxiliary button there, your main button, and then underneath is where you'd have the USB flap. Good place to have it, rather than that. Some companies have it on the side or on the top, but that's where you're going to get rain. Whereas if it's raining, you don't want rain pounding on a USB flap, do you? It's a bit daft. I mean, this does come with a 2-meter drop rating, which is very good. That's well up there. Well done, CYANSKY. Some of them are guilty of like 1 meter or 1.5. Bear in mind, headlamps should have a higher rating in my opinion, because rather than waist height where you would normally hold a flashlight, they're right up there at head height. So if you're a tall person, whack, you need 2 meters gives you a bit more confidence, and this does feel rock solid to me. So IPX8, perfectly waterproof. You can submerge this in water if this is properly seated, because bear in mind it's USB rechargeable, so you don't want water getting in here. But it's a pretty good flap. See, it's okay. I would have preferred to have seen a lip on this bit which goes into the recess there, because if that gets knocked, let's say that gets knocked in your pocket and you don't realise, watch, right, and then it's like that, I think water could probably start to work its way in, especially if you're in caves or really watery environments. Maybe that could do with a little bit of a rework, but you know, I've got no problems with this. I used this in drizzle. It wasn't mega heavy rain, but I did use this in drizzle, and I certainly didn't have any problems at IPX talking anyway. So what I'll do is I'll show you the charging, and then we'll go over what we've actually got here on this front array. So in regards charging, because we're already talking about this anyway, this flap here, so that's your entry point. So what you would do is you could use the included one here. So it's Type C. So what I'll do is I'll use my trusty charger here, so Type A, and I have charged this multiple times, no problems. Well, I didn't have any problems anyway. So what we'll do is we'll plug that in, and then you should see there, so red. So it's red solid at the minute. That means it's charging, and as you can see there, it's charging at 5 volts at about 1 amp. So pretty rapid, it's pretty good. It is a rapid charger, this one, for the 18650 size cell. I had no problems. I wasn't waiting around, you know, twiddling my thumbs. It does charge quite rapidly, and then that will go green when it's full. And there's automatic protection of overcharge. I didn't have any problems in that regards. So the question is, does it work whilst it's charging? Well, sort of. Watch. If I try and use the auxiliaries, nothing. If I try and use the main beam, you get one mode, but you can't change it. So a bit of a strange behavior there, because I like lights that you can use whilst they're charging, but it seems that it only allows one mode. And I'll show you that again. So if I want to test Type C to Type C, which means power delivery, so here's Type C to Type C. So plug it in. Now we'll plug it into the light. Now I know this does work because I've tested it multiple times. That's how I charged it on a few of the occasions. So I'll show you there, charging again, 0.7 an amp. See, so it's still charging, and it will function, but only on one mode. Watch. Try auxiliaries, nothing. Try main beam, you get one level, which is the low. In fact, it's one up, I think it's medium, but that's it. You can't change the mode, which is strange. I'm sad to see that, because some people might want that on a slightly lower setting, which means you're charging it a lot quicker without using it. It's a really good feature when you're camping and things like that. So it's a shame that, but at least you have some light whilst it's charging. There's some lights that don't let you use it full stop when you're charging, so at least it's got that. So just to show you there are other modes, I'll take that off. Now watch. See how it's changing now? Changes modes. Now we'll plug this back in, and it won't allow them. Right? Just to show you there, it's charging now. See, won't allow you. So just something to bear in mind there. Now I can't change modes. So there you go. So it does charge. It's quite rapid. It's got power delivery. It will work whilst charging, but only in one mode. So I just want to forewarn people that, because there are people on the channel that I talk to who go camping and things, and they need to know these sorts of things. Okay, so let's see what's actually coming out of this thing. So let's go through what there is. So this is your main beam here. So it's quite smooth, but it is a TIR. You can see there, it's one solid piece of plastic. So what that provides you with is quite a tight beam, and I'll show you that. So click and hold. Right, see that spot there? Look, that spot is very tight, and that projects a long way. So they've picked an SST40, which is a good choice for that, but no matter what setting you've got on, it's very, very tight, and I'll show you that on the outdoor beam shots. You'll notice that the main beam is very tight, so if you use it on its own, it provides poor peripheral vision. However, in order to get around that, it does have auxiliaries, so I'll show you that. So there's your different modes. In fact, we'll go through them. So there's low, that's using the SST40, that's 30 lumens in AC, and you get 60 hours out of that. And then you've got medium at 150 lumens, 14 hours. High, 500 lumens, 3 hours-ish runtime on this cell, allegedly. And then turbo, 1200, 2 hours. So, okay, not bad, not bad. It feels more like about 1,000-ish, just over 1,000. I don't know about 1,200, but it's getting there, it's getting there. And then back down again. It does have memory mode, so if I turn this off and turn it back on, it takes us straight back to the mode that I had on. So that's your main beam, which is the SST40. You then have a floody SST20. I'll go over the tint differences and the color rendering indexes in a moment, but I want to show you these first. So the SST20, so as you see, it's a completely different setup, whereas that's trying to get a spot to go quite far. This is micro lensed and also a TIR, and it's going to get you a nice close-up uniform wide beam. So in order to show you that, so this is the secondary button, so we'll go through the modes here. There, so that's lowest, so that's 30 lumens and you get 60 hours out of that, but nice and wide. You see how it lacks that spot which we had before? It's nice and smooth, so really good for up close stuff. And the tint and color rendering are very nice. Actually, I did some close-up stuff, it's very nice, and we'll go over the very high color rendering of this light in a moment. So that's your lowest, and then you press it again, medium, 150 lumens, 14 hours in total. Again, a nice uniform beam that you can work from. You can cook from that, you can work on a car, up close stuff, very, very good. Boom, and then that's your highest. So according to them, highest 500 lumens, 3 hours in total, or just under anyway. So very, very nice. And then if you press it again, it's going to turn this off and it's going to utilize the red lights. So the red lights are using, now if I can remember rightly, I think it's something like an Everlight, I think is the name of the company. Everlight 2835, I think, is the emitter choice that they've gone for. So if we press it, there they are there. So very bright. I noticed this on the keychain light by the CYANSKY. There's nothing worse than a headlamp with rubbish red light mode. So it's so weak that by the time this is up at head height, you can't see a damn thing. You can't run by it. You can't walk by it. I don't know what the point of them is. At least on this CYANSKY, it's bright enough where I was actually able to use this. So I will give them a thumbs up for that, because there's a lot, especially cheapy headlamps, that people show me and say, hey, look, I bought this on eBay, and I think, oh my God, let's have a look then. And it's got one epoxy red light. It does nothing, useless. Brilliant. They've done a good job. There's two of them. You get a lot of good cover and it's workable with. Look at that. Really, really good. So I'm sorry to harp on about that, but I see some right piles of rubbish. I really do. And then you press it again and it will flash. I don't know when I would use that, so I'll just show you that now. There's a flash red mode. I don't know what the point of that is. Maybe it's an emergency. Fair enough. Or if you crash your car or you break down, you could use it for something like that. I don't know. And then boosh, back to mode 1 again. And then click and hold off. So it's click and hold on. One click advances modes. Click and hold off. Simple as that. Now you can use them both at the same time. So if I had the main beam on, so there's the main beam on. You see it. I can also put on the auxiliary. So we'll put the auxiliary on as well. So this is the auxiliary. So watch. See how the auxiliary is on as well? Now we can turn them there, so that they're all on full. Now if both are on, you get that spot, but then look how the peripheral is filled in with the auxiliary. Isn't that interesting? And now in total, when they're both running, that's when you get the figure that they quote as 1400. So although people might say, well, the output's on as high, yeah, right, okay, from one beam then you're not going to get massive amounts. But you're only getting sort of 400, 500-ish from the auxiliary, you know, something like that. If you're getting 500 and then you combine that with the 1000-ish, you're getting close to that 1400. Okay, fair enough. And then you can turn that off. You can turn the main beam off. You see how, so it's just that nice smooth, and then we'll turn the main beam back on. See how you got the spot there? And then if we turned off the peripheral, you've got just the spot. So brilliant setting that. Great, I like to see that. So you've got choices. It can become a little bit complicated when it's on your head and you're trying to work out what damn mode you're in. Sometimes I ended up putting my hand out and going, right, is the auxiliary on? Yes, I know. Okay, it is. And in regards heat, look, that was on full there. I'm holding it. Yes, it gets warm. It doesn't get stupid warm though, which was nice to see. But there is some step down, but that's inevitable when you've got two of these running. Yes, this is full metal, but you know, there's only so much you can do to get rid of heat. So there was a little bit of a step down, but it's not too severe, you know, and it was workable, and I did some great hikes, so no problems in regards to this output. Okay, so in regards to CRI and tint, in fact, we'll put this here. Let's bring up some figures. Okay, so here's the figure. So I did some testing. So I tested the SST 20. Now, sorry, the SST 40. Now, bear in mind, the SST 40 is your main beam, the spot, you know, the concentrated one. So the tint, it fluctuated, you know, in the main I was getting 4,500-ish to 5,000-ish. So up towards neutrally. There was a little bit of green on the lower levels, but that's to be expected from an SST 20. I understand that. Unfortunately, the CRI, which is the color rendering index, natural light is 100%. You want to get as close as that as possible to get a nice full color gamut without color casts. Unfortunately, it was low. It was the highest I saw was about 61.1%. So from a crane and things like that, you would expect something around the 70 mark, so it was below that, which was a shame. I noticed a similar artifact on the CYANSKY flashlight keyring. I think that was a little bit low, and at the time I thought maybe it's my testing, but I don't know whether they're picking a bin of these LEDs, which is, they just happen to be much lower, I don't know. But to offset that, if we compare that to the SST 20, which is the auxiliary, the floody mode, the tint was about 3,884, something like that. It was around the 4,000-ish Kelvin mark, so nice and warm, nice warm tint. But the CRI was 96.5%, so well over 90% color rendering index, very nice, which means it was extremely nice on reds and browns, and just I preferred it outside. And on reds and things like that, it just comes out much nicer for me. I understand when you're using a headlamp, you're going for a walk in the countryside or whatever, most people are not going to be stood there with a calculator going, oh, I'm not having this, it's 2.6% lower CRI. I understand. Mass market probably don't care less. But I do want to point this out because I like a high CRI light, and there are a lot of people on this channel who really know their stuff. They know more than I do, I'll tell you that. And they do appreciate a high CRI light. And it's one of those things, once you've experienced it and you see it and you think, wow, that does look really nice, I do like that, you then kind of yearn for that on other lights. And I'm more than happy to go to about the 70% CRI mark before I start whinging, but once it creeps down to the 60-ish%, which the SST 40 did, it becomes a little bit noticeable. And there's a little bit of a green tinge, and it was okay. Okay, so right, get rid of them, get rid of those images there, right? Okay. Oh, and I will point out, I didn't notice any particular risks of flicker. In other words, pulse width modulation. There probably is some pulse width modulation there, but it's nothing I noticed. And I was out extensively testing this light, and I didn't notice any annoying flicker. Okay, so we'll go over some of the pros and cons, and then what I'll do is I'll look at some screenshots with you, and we can look at, you know, what was the output of this light actually like. Okay, so pros. So in regards pros for this, it's an IPX8, excellent. You can rely on it in really bad wet weather. 2 meter drop rating, again, brilliant, especially important on a headlamp because they're held high up. Very important, and it's full metal. It's got, battery indicator, another good plus point. It works whilst charging, yeah, sort of, only in one mode. Okay, but at least it's better than a lot of lights where they don't even let you use it. So okay, I'll give them a tentative 45 degrees thumb up for that. So okay, fair enough. It's Type C. It does work power delivery, so I had no problems with that. The red light mode is actually strong, and it actually bloody works. Unlike some of the other lights I see, or even at work, people will say, "Look, I got this for $5 on eBay," and I think, "My God, let's have a look." And they're awful. And especially the red light mode, useless once it's at head height. So good, well done on that. The SST20 is high CRI, which I really liked. You're not going to get it to stretch out distance on that, but up close where it actually matters, very good. No problems with that. It comes with a cell. I wish it was a little bit bigger though. I would have liked to have seen like a 3,000 milliamp hour at least, but okay, one of those things. And 5-year warranty buried away in the instructions, which I did read a tiny little bit. Where is it? I think it's over here. There you go, 60 months, 5 years from date of purchase. If there's problems through normal use, in other words, you're not hitting it with ball peen hammers and things like that and exploding it in mines. As long as you're using it sensibly and there's a workmanship issue, they will replace it within that 5 years. I like it, well done. So that's in line with some of the more premium lights like the Olight. Okay, well done. So what are the cons then? Well, it's only a 2-point band, so if you're doing anything more than a leisurely walk, you're going to need a 3-pointer, but it doesn't have a 3-pointer. So just bear that in mind if you're going to do anything particularly exhaustive or military. But I suppose if you're doing military stuff, you'd use the headband, the helmet connector anyway. So that probably would be less of an issue. So maybe that's why they've done this. But I think for a solid metal, 160 grams-ish region, it would have been nice to have seen an option to at least have it in the box so you can attach it. Some of them come and you can attach them or not. Maybe that's something they need to think about. You can only use one mode whilst it's charging, but at least it works whilst you're charging. Price, about $75, I think it was when I last checked. For a non-Olight, that's probably quite high, although Olight creeping towards the 100 mark. They should maybe knock a tenner off that, or $15 ish. Okay, but if you're willing to pay for a solid metal thing and take a chance on CYANSKY, it probably won't be an issue. And the main beam only 61.1, I think, percent CRI. It's a bit low, isn't it? Again, I realise I'm a bit of a snob, and I'm looking for problems where other people would just buy this and go, it's brilliant, I'll take the dog for a walk and go out with the kids and I don't have a problem. I understand that. Mass market probably don't care what I'm saying here, but people who do care need to know these things. So what we'll do is we'll bring up a picture. Okay, so let's have a look. So here's a picture. So you're probably thinking straight off, why is CYANSKY HS6R on twice? Well, it's on twice because I've done it once using the main beam, then I've done it also with the main beam and the auxiliaries on at the same time. And then I tested it against the Lumentop HL3A, the Luminite Compass R, very expensive light there, rather expensive but nice, using one TIR. It's a 90-degree type, but that also has a metal bracket. The super cheap Sofern SP40, which I still rate, even though it's a really cheap light with a free cell. Woburn H1, which is a kind of copy of the HC65 V1 by Nitecore, and then I also tested it against the HC65 V2, the new version from Nitecore. So let's see what we can see here. So let's start with the CYANSKY, just using the main beam, the SST40. Colour wise, it's okay. It's not the best though, is it? And as you can see, that main beam is very tight. So you are getting some peripheral vision by virtue of the fact that the brightness of that, which is still quite high, it's around the 1000 mark, is lighting up the trees around, but you can't see them in massive detail, can you? So, but it does a decent job. It just looks a little bit green maybe. So then the next picture along is the HS6R with both beams on at the same time. So that's ×1 SST40 and ×1 SST20. So what happens there? Well, at first glance, not a lot. When you actually sit and study that though, which I have, it's brighter, especially in the peripheral. If you look on the right hand side, those wavy trees to the far right hand side are more visible on the dual output than they are on the original just SST40. You can see that, it's plain to see, although that main beam retains its push with that tight beam in the middle. And I would argue you can see the artifacts of that nice high CRI creeping in. So if you look at the ground closest to where I stood, it looks browner to me, redder slightly. If you compare that to the ground, which looks kind of lifeless on the left image, and then on the right one, it's almost like someone's taken a slider and put a little bit red in. I haven't done that. None of these are altered. They're exactly as they came out of the camera. So so it is noticeable there. It is noticeable because high CRI does make a difference. Okay, so the next one along, the Lumentop HL3A, nice and small, a 90-degree light there with, it's a triple emitter, that one, on a TIR using an 8650. So it does an okay job. Nothing to write home about though, and you are losing peripheral vision on the left and right, especially on the left hand side. You can't hardly see the bottom of the tree. In fact, if we compare, we'll zoom in and I'll show you that tree stump on the far left of the Lumentop image and the tree stump on the CYANSKY with both of them running. You can see that. You can see quite a bit there in the CYANSKY, but obviously with the Lumentop, you, for want of a better term, and excuse the pun, you're left in the dark, aren't you? It's not what that's meant for, even though on the Lumentop it's a TIR, so you'd expect it to be a nice floody beam. That doesn't seem to be the case there, does it? In regards to output, it seems to be slightly lacking. So if we zoom back in again there to normal levels, okay, so top right is the Luminite Compass R, very expensive light, with a nice metal bracket there. But again, that seems to suffer slightly on the peripheral. So left in the middle, it looks brilliant. I really like that. And it's got a bit of push there in the distance, fine, without any sort of annoying sort of hot spot in the middle to obstruct view or anything. But left and right, it's slightly lacking. You can hardly see those trees. So again, even though it's a very nice light and it's a nice beam, nice tint and everything, you're not quite getting that flood. Okay, next one, SP40. In comparison, I think that SP40 has done an exceptional job compared to that Luminite Compass R, which is triple to 4 times the price. You've got a hot spot in the middle, which is pushing and then hitting the far behind of those trees. But look, left and right, you can still see the trees. So really, that's done an exceptional job, and that's just using a normal emitter a normal cell 18650. It's a right angle design and an orange peel reflector. So orange peel reflectors can be pretty effective on a headlamp. So next one along, bottom middle, is the Wubin H1. That does a pretty good job. I would argue it's similar to the SP40, but a slightly better tint, and it's smoothed out the hotspot in the middle. So the hotspot's slightly wider and more smoothed out and transitioned into the rest of the image. So if you wanted that sort of thing, you get it. But the key to the Wubin H1 obviously is the fact that it's multifunctional. You have other modes. You have red light mode, a high CRI, secondary. Not a lot of output on that, but it's good for close-up stuff. And then the far end, the Nikkor HS6R, it's the V2, the new version. Again, very, very similar to the Wubin H1. Very similar, but slightly brighter, and again, even more slightly transitioned. In fact, it is slightly more transitioned, but it's brighter in the middle, maybe slightly wider and brighter. I'm not sure. It almost looks like it's the hotspot is slightly higher, maybe. That could be my error though. I did try and hold them at exactly the same point, exactly the same height, and point them at exactly the same target, but that could be at fault there. But pretty good. So to sum up, you can see that the CYANSKY is very tight beam, but with a little bit of peripheral, and then when you add in the SST20s, you get a nice punch through to the CRI levels, and it fills in those sides a bit. Whereas on the Lumen top, the Luminite, you're losing side vision. And SoFin, I still think that SoFin does a good job, you know, for the price. But in regards to, does this work as a headlamp? I think it does. Okay, so get rid of that image. That's enough waffling. That's enough waffling for now. So we've gone over the good points and the bad points, and I'll quickly show you the other ones that I compared it to. So as we discussed, here's the HL3A. Just show you this there, HL3A by Lumen top. Very small, nice light though, nice UI. You know, E-lock and all of that. Nice, very, very nice tint and nice and smooth. Although, as you saw, it is quite focused though, because at mid-range we were losing a bit of peripheral vision. So it's got ramping interface. You can ramp it up and ramp it down. So depends what you want. I still think this is underrated, but decent. Okay, that was just one of the other options. Nice headband, but if you notice, even though this is smaller, 3-point. So there's something to think about. And it has that wavy line stuff that's supposed to get rid of sweat. I don't really find it gets rid of sweat. I find it just helps us stop this moving around on wet skin and things like that. But there's one of the other options. I also compared it to the SoFin, which I've just championed there by saying, my goodness, isn't it doing well? Very, very cheap, but very capable, because it's got a nice wide bowl, an orange peel, which does the job, gives you a bit of push, but you get sensible peripheral where you can actually go for a hike and use it. I really like this for the price, so pretty decent. I also compared it to the very expensive HS6R by Nikkor. It looks similar, but it isn't. So what's happening here is it's got a main beam there, and then you've got your red light and things like that. But it's similar, but you get a different beam output, and it hasn't got this floody section here. More expensive, slightly more expensive. It depends where you get these and whether you get them on offer and things like that. But if you notice, again, 3-pointer, and it also has this interesting thing, which I thought would be irritating, but it isn't. That goes on the back of the head. I don't know whether that's something to do with helmets, but if on my head it doesn't cause any problems, and I've used this multiple times. There's your other option. There's the expensive Luminite. I like this because it had a metal clip. Comes in, goes in and comes out, no problem. Boosh, see, beautiful, very nice beam. It's similar to the H2R Nova by Olight in regards to the head here. In fact, it looks very, very similar, and it's magnetic charging, which can be very useful for certain conditions, especially if you're in and out of a house and things like that. Micro lensed, nice wide head there, nice beam. I love the tint on this, but again, it pushes a bit more, but you lose a tiny little bit of the peripheral. If you remember those images that I showed you just before there, but it is a good light. It is a good light. I've run with that one as well, and I didn't have any problems. And the Wubin H1, again, one main beam, but it's a smooth, which is quite interesting. So you get a bit of push, and there's your auxiliary there, and it's a side button. But again, 3-pointer. So the question is, if most of those are using 3-pointer, apart from the mega budget, why is this not? It would have been nice to have seen one in the box that you could use, but you know, you can't have everything, can you? And I think as a headlamp, I think they've done a decent job. So let's get rid of all of this rubbish, get this out of shot. I was supposed to be talking about this here. So we need to give this points, don't we? So IPX8, 2 meter drop rating, sort of works whilst charging in one mode. I'll give them a point for that. Type C with power delivery, full metal body. What else did I say about it? The red light mode actually works. The SST20 is a high CRI, brilliant, I like that. Comes with the cell, but I would like to have seen a bigger one. 5-year warranty, that fills me with a bit of hope there. Only a 2-point band is a con. Only one mode whilst charging, that's something of a con to me. Price maybe 15-ish bucks too high, maybe I would say. And the main beam is only a 61.1% CRI. So something of a mixed bag, but it's hitting the stats in the right areas. In the areas where it isn't, there are areas where it doesn't matter as much. I think they've concentrated on things that do matter, and because of that, I'm going to give them a healthy 8. I have to, really, because it does everything. I just wish it was a bit cheaper and you had the option for a 3-pointer. I mean, that's not going to cost them much money to put an extra bit of elastic in, is it, really? I didn't have any problems with this, and it's nice and soft. Look, even the inside is like sort of microfibery. I did like this, and I didn't have any problems. And what I did like was the fact that this is all smoothed. I had no problems with this, even though I was worried I would. So I have thought about it, and I have done a decent job. And you can get like helmet attachments and stuff. So you know, it's not like they just cobbled this together to take the mick out of people. You know, it's a healthy 8. I'd like to see a few little changes though, but other than that, I think they've done a decent job. It's hard to have a go at this. It's even got battery indicator. I mean, you know, you're getting a lot. Okay, so a healthy 8, well done. Maybe there's a few more changes, but enough of me waffling. Let's get outside. I've compared it with a load of other lights. I've used this for more than 2 weeks now. I'm confident that this mark is accurate, and so that's enough of me waffling. Let's get outside and see what I was up to. Whee!